US Senate, Mr. Eric Early.
All righty. Thank you so much, everybody, for having me tonight. It's really an honor to be here before the great Golden State Republican women. Congratulations on getting chartered and getting going. I know that your future is going to be incredibly bright. And so my name's Eric Early, and I'm running for US Senate here in the state of California. I have been the leading Republican in this race, and I'm running against a couple pieces of work on the other side. You've got a guy who's a pathological liar. His name is Adam Schiff. He's a danger to the nation and a national disgrace. Katie Porter, who is she proudly calls herself a progressive, which in English means communist. And then you've got the other one, Barbara Lee, who is up from Oakland. They're all Congress people. They've been in office a total of 55 years now, I believe. They've led us into this mess. They've signed off on every policy that's been taken down this country. Barbara Lee, if she doesn't have pictures of Karl Marx and Fidel Castro hanging all over her living room, I'd be shocked, frankly. And then we'll see if this other one gets in the race, this beauty that Gavin Newsom just nominated, named LaFonza Butler. Who knows what she stands for? Nobody's ever heard of her before, but presumably she stands for every single one of the policies that all of those far left ones stand for. But before I get into what I was going to be talking about today, given the events of the last few days with what's gone on in Israel, I want to talk about that first, because you need to know where your next senator stands on this. And I firmly stand with Israel. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no wiggle room. There's no daylight. We are witnessing good versus evil going on right there, right now. These Hamas people are really the devil's spawn. They are as evil as one can imagine humans to be. They're the same crowd as the ISIS psychos were before President Trump destroyed them. And they are just flat out evil, and they have to be destroyed. It just the things we've seen the last few days, just unspeakable. And unfortunately, we can anticipate what we're going to see from those spawn of the devil in the next days and weeks. They have these hostages. And we've seen the way these ISIS types work. They will torture and kill people right on video and play it for the world to see. And unfortunately, I think we have to brace ourselves for what we're going to see from those people. But they have to be wiped out. And I will be joining with whatever senator in the U.S. Senate agrees with me on this. And as far as the ones who are siding with Hamas, these are just sick people. These far left in this country have been amazing at calling Republicans Nazis, right? All these years, Donald Trump, a Nazi, everything. We know who the Nazis are. Hamas are the Nazis. These people who are demonstrating, supporting them, who call Republicans Nazis, are the Nazis. And so once again, it's the ones that call people name that the Nazi name that are what they call other people. In my race, you've got two of the three at least. I don't know where LaFonza Butler stands on anything, but you've got Katie Porter and Barbara Lee, and they're already starting to do the wishy-washy moral equivalence dance that the America haters in the squad in Congress are doing, trying to somehow blame Israel for what went on there in the last few days. These are just sick and twisted and evil people, and they are part of one of the reasons why I'm running, because we have to get our country back from those people. And make no mistake about it, those people who are right now demonstrating on behalf of Hamas, protesting on behalf of Hamas, whether they're in government or out of government, you want to look at what our domestic enemies look like. They are our domestic enemies right there. Does anyone believe that any one of those people who are out there demonstrating, supporting these devils have anything but the worst in mind for our own country? Those are the groups that hate our country. And those are the American Marxists of today and the Nazis, and they've got to be stopped. So, you know, and of course, this all goes back to the mullahs in Tehran, and they have to be destroyed as well. President Trump had the Tehran mullahs on their knees. He had issued tremendous sanctions against their ability to sell oil. They were going broke. They were going flat out broke. He wasn't paying ransom payments for hostages. They, no doubt in my mind, if there was another Trump administration, the mullahs would have been gone, and the secular people in Iran, there's lots of great people in Iran who can't stand those mullahs, would have been in charge. But the minute Biden got back in, he resurrected that evil. And with that money, we've seen what they're doing. We all knew what they would do. We knew they would take that money and foment terror all around the globe against us and our allies. And that group has to be stopped as well. I'm incredibly concerned about what has come across our border within the 7 to 8 to 9, whatever million illegal immigrants that supports, that are, you know, part of the terror networks of that Hamas mullah regime. And it's incredibly troubling. And all of us knew, again, you open the borders, that the terrorists would be coming in. And now you know, you talk to law enforcement, you hear from certain sources of government, there are lots of people very concerned about what's going to go on with them here. So, you know, it just has increased the odds of this battle of good versus evil we're in. Just switching topics a bit, you know, I woke up this morning and our beautiful state Republican Party brought in a new candidate in this race. In my race, they won't say it was them, but I know the people who are behind the baseball player that they brought in, who hasn't picked up a baseball bat in the last 40 years. And frankly, nobody knows what he has to say either, or if he can even speak. Maybe he can, who knows? It's going to be interesting. But this has been the situation, you know, because I'm the most conservative one in this race, because I am very blessed to have the vast majority of the grassroots Republicans in our state supporting me. The sort of power structure of our state party does not love me. They've been looking for a way to water down my campaign, water down the growing momentum we have. Every time we build momentum, we've heard a rumor, oh, Steve Garvey getting a race, and then he would disappear for months on end. And now, for whatever reason, I guess they brought him in, although we'll have to see. We'll have to see how serious this is. I'd love to debate him, and I hope I do get to debate him, because it won't be a happy day for him or for the people behind him, frankly. And I know exactly who is behind him in there. And they're against me, but they're really against a movement that I represent, because there is a growing and gathering and great movement in this state of the grassroots Republicans, the conservative Republicans, and also many grassroots people of other, you know, independents, and even grassroots moderate Democrats. And the sort of the dropping of the gauntlet that started this growing and gathering grassroots movement was the Newsom recall movement. And I was the lead lawyer for the Newsom recall movement. And you know, the folks who started the recall, Orrin Heatley and Mike Netter and their great team, are not only very close friends of mine, but they're intimately involved in my campaign, and so many other great people who were involved in that recall movement. And so I'm part of a movement, and I'm one of the leaders of this movement. And there is no other candidate, really, Republican candidate in my race, that is connected to anything like I'm connected to. You know, if you were at the convention, the state convention just a few days ago, my stuff was everywhere. Our people, our supporters were everywhere. We have a growing and gathering movement that will ultimately get back this state party and ultimately get back this state. these are the folks, and so many of you I consider to be part of that. These are the folks that have the passion, the desire, and understanding as to what it's going to take to get back the state. So I'm very honored to be one of the leaders of this movement, and I'm constantly advised by many people within that movement. And for example, when a guy like the baseball player gets in today, if that's in fact what happened, I can't tell you how many people I've heard from around the state saying, Eric, we're 1,000% with you. This is yet another carpetbagger to try and really help resurrect the moderates that run our state party. They took some major losses at the recent convention. Then they lost the congressman who really is the benefactor of the people who lead our state party, and they know what's going on there. I'll say something that no other candidate probably in the state of California says, certainly not for a major campaign. I'm a proud MAGA Republican. I don't back away from that. I don't shy away from that. I don't care what the other side says about it. I don't care how Joe Biden characterizes MAGA Republicans. I don't give a damn, okay? A MAGA Republican is a patriot. A MAGA Republican is somebody who loves our country. A MAGA Republican is someone who loves our Constitution. A MAGA Republican is someone who supports law and order. A MAGA Republican supports our military. A MAGA Republican loves America. And I am a proud MAGA Republican, okay? I don't go by the definitions that people give us or, whatever. You know how they work. They have all the MAGA Republican, racist, white supremacists, blah, blah, blah. By the way, there's only one group in our state, and frankly in this country, that fights for every law-abiding American citizen of every race, creed, color, and sexual orientation, and that's the MAGA Republicans. So, I am a proud MAGA Republican. I say that. The media has a field day when they decide to make believe I exist. They do their best to make believe I don't exist because they know I'm a threat. And it is what it is. As far as this pathological lunatic that I'm running against named Schiff, just a little story about him. I've run against him before. Number of years ago when Donald Trump was first elected president. I don't even know if he was inaugurated yet, but you remember Schiff used to get on the Sunday shows. And frankly, I'd never heard of the guy before that. I didn't know what he did. And I live in his district here in Los Angeles. And he starts getting on, the media is giving him softballs, and he had evidence that Donald Trump colluded with Russians to get elected, right? I didn't have classified information or anything like that, but I'm watching him. I knew he was lying to us in real time. I knew we were all being lied to. All Americans are being lied to. I knew a lot of Americans were being fooled by it because he was on the House Intelligence Committee. I knew that the large majority of the media was throwing him softballs just to allow him to keep lying to all of us because that's just the way they wanted their narrative to work. And so one day I looked at my wife, I'd watched one of these Sunday shows, and I said, listen, this guy's lying to me. He's lying to all of us. He's totally full of it. We have a new president that's come in. He won't even let this guy get started without starting to tear him down. So I said, I've got to run against him. So I spoke to my family, I spoke to friends, I spoke to other people I knew, and I jumped in that race. That was a couple election cycles ago. That was for Congress. That was just down the district here, as opposed to Senate, which I'm now in, which is the entire state of California. Everybody in the state of California can vote for me in this present race. And there were 7 or 8 of us on primary night in that race, and I ended up in the top 2. I was elected to the top 2. And then it was just me versus Schiff, and we raised about $4.5 million around the country. Schiff had never seen anything like this coming at him before. We advertised all over the place down here against him, and it turned into a kind of a national race of sorts. And so I've gone against him before, and I know what he's about, and he is a national disgrace and a danger to the nation. And I'm very happy to be going against him again. And our focus right now in my campaign is getting into the top 2 on primary night, which is March 5th, Super Tuesday, which means the voting starts a month before that in February. And if this race progresses the way we believe it will progress and the way it is progressing, I should end up in the top 2 on primary night. Hopefully, the state party's effort to water down my chances won't affect that, meaning by putting in the baseball player, because frankly, Adam Schiff and Katie Porter are dancing in the streets today after seeing how dysfunctional this state Republican Party is, that they would bring in somebody at this late date to water down our side's votes. It's just a remarkable thing. And I could go into the reasons why they do that. It's much more about the certain people keeping power in the state party than doing what's best for the state of California. But we still are firmly focused on ending up into that top 2 on primary night. We had always looked at this race that way. You know, I watched early on, we had watched Schiff, Porter, and Lee get in the race, and they were in about the race for about 3 months before any major Republican had gotten in the race. And so we started talking, my political folks and I. You know, I had run for Attorney General in the last race against Rob Bonta, and I got 1,200,000 votes around the state. And we said, we started talking to what I would call the usual suspects, you know, sort of well-known Republicans in the state who might run for US Senate, because I didn't want to split the vote, because we saw a clear lane right through for a Republican in top 2. And we talked to all the usual suspects, and every one of them had a reason why they're not going to run. No way, you know, just can't be won, et cetera, et cetera. And then so we got in the race. And because the way we looked at it from day one is you had the 3 Democrats, they were going to be taking votes away from each other. It's a very rare race where you have 3 major Democrat candidates in this state running against each other. But it is very rare when a US Senate position opens up without an incumbent. It happens like once every 30 years. So they couldn't help themselves. They got 3 of them in the race. And we also knew that this is a contested Republican presidential primary. And so that's going to bring out as many Republican voters as we possibly get in this state. Because as you probably know, there are many elections where we don't get nearly enough of the registered Republicans to come out to vote. And they will vote for the lead Republican in the race. So, but in any event, on primary night, if I get into the top 2, that means there's only 1 spot open for the rest of them. And who knows if this LaFonza Butler is going to run. And so it is quite possible that on primary night that even Adam Schiff may not end up in the top 2, which would be, I think, one of the great things that could happen to this nation, because as bad as all of them are, he is the most dangerous. So we'll see what happens. And he's been polling sort of neck and neck with, you know, the American Marxist Katie Porter. So we'll see what happens. But we're all over the state. We're getting endorsements all around this state. We have county Republican parties just coming and endorsing us all over the place, along with a lot of great people. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm constantly traveling around the state. Thursday, I go up to Butte County. I speak to the Butte County Republican Central Committee on Thursday evening. Next week, I'm in various parts of the state. Last week, I was all around the state, and that's what's happening. When I am your next U.S. Senator, I'll tell you some of my positions, some of the things I want to do. First of all, our borders have to be shut down. I'll align myself with every senator who wants these borders shut down. I don't have to go into the reasons why. I know you all know the reasons why. I believe we have to have what I'm calling a send them home policy for starting off. I don't know. We'll never figure out a way, nor we won't be able to send home 9 million people, unfortunately. But we know that within that 9 million, there are lots of hardened criminals, lots of people from insane asylums, lots of people from terrorist groups around the world. And those people have to be located. It's going to be incredibly difficult, but we have to find those people and get them the heck out of our country. I will align myself with those senators who want to close the Department of Education. I want to close the Department of Education. It is the center of all the poison of our kids' brains going on in this country right now. Make no mistake, this takeover of our nation that these American Marxists have been involved in for years under the surface, so much of it starts and ends with the control of our children's brains, starting in kindergarten, going all the way through college. They know exactly what they're doing. They have so many weaponized teachers from the California Teachers Association here in our state, and we have to get back our kids' brains. And one way to start would be to close that Department of Education, because that's the center of that poison that is focused on turning innocent children into kids who are activists against America. They're dividing kids by race. And then, of course, this sexual gender fluidity stuff, which is downright, child abuse, frankly. I've been fighting for parents and children for many years, and that's what I'll do as U.S. Senator. About 6 years or so ago, I was sitting at my desk in my law firm, and I'll tell you about my firm in a bit. And I got a call from these great parents up in Santa Barbara, which is about 2 hours north of where I am in Los Angeles. And they said, Eric, and this is before anybody had ever heard of critical race theory. I never heard of critical race theory at the time. They said, Eric, they're indoctrinating our kids in school to hate America. They're dividing the kids by race in school. And they're bringing in this sexual stuff that no kids should be subject to. And they said, we've asked the district for the curriculum materials, and they're telling us that we're not entitled to see them. What can we do? So we formed this brave group of parents called Fair Education Santa Barbara, and I was the lead lawyer. And we brought the lawsuit up in Santa Barbara, sued the Santa Barbara Unified School District, sued the superintendent, who we ultimately got removed, sued this group of social justice warriors. Nobody ever seen a lawsuit like this before. The allegations were making anything, and they were stunned in the liberal enclaves of Santa Barbara. The media went hog wild on me and my clients, these brave parents. We were, of course, all racists and white supremacists, and but the lawsuit proceeded because we would not be stopped. And just so you know, one thing that I don't really like too much is getting called a racist by a bunch of flat out racists. It's just something that bothers me, right? And the people on the other side these are the most racist people we've seen in generations in this country. I mean, look, they're filling up the streets right now, demonstrating for the devil worshippers in the Hamas devil worshippers. Those are the ones that are called us racists, right? Isn't that beautiful? And so we ended up getting the materials, and nobody'd seen materials like this before. We've all seen this stuff now, but at the time, nobody'd seen this, and we were stunned. All white people are oppressors. All brown people are victims. America is bad. Socialism is good. Christianity is a myth. Police are there to oppress brown people. And this sexual stuff, this gender fluidity stuff, we were stunned. Somebody on our team got the materials to Betsy DeVos, who was Donald Trump's education secretary. She got them to President Trump, and it was one of the things that started breaking open the door for this stuff. So, I know what's going on in our kids' schools, and it is not good. The gender ideology, the sexual ideology stuff that's going on is devastating to innocent brains. And it is coming down directly from the White House to this, nincompoop who's our governor, to our attorney general, who is a flat out Marxist, to these flat out perverts who fill our state legislature. And they are all about sexually barraging our kids with this gender fluidity stuff. Doesn't matter if you're born a boy or a girl, you be anything you want to be. There's 58 different genders of people. All the stuff, dividing the kids by race, the whole package. This is going on in schools. And then when a young kid goes to the teacher, 8-year-old girl goes to teacher, listen, I was born a girl, but my pronoun is he, call me a he. Or, 10-year-old boy, I was born a boy, tells the teacher, tells the others all over the school, I was born a boy, but call me a she. And they start talking about other ways to change their genders. Our schools in this state are instructed, do not tell the parents. Do not tell the parents. So on the one hand, we have the entire ruling class in this state bashing this stuff into innocent kids' heads. Little kids go to school 5, 6, 7, they don't know anything about sex. Bashing this stuff in these innocent, confused heads, confusing the heck out of them. And on the other hand, when they start expressing the results of that confusion, the teachers are being instructed, don't tell the parents. These are sick and twisted people running things. And, we've had these we the people moments in this state that I call them. Chino Valley Unified School District, Arden School District, Murrieta, Temecula, Dry Creek, Rockville, couple others. Great school boards, got some great conservatives elected school board. They instructed the teachers, you must tell the parents. And what's the first thing that comes down when Chino Valley Unified School District started that? Our Attorney General from the state of California, who does nothing, by the way, he's without Newsom demanding it. Newsom has him on a leash. Sued Chino Valley Unified School District, said, you cannot tell the teachers this stuff, don't listen to this school board. That lawsuit is going on. I'll do everything I can to protect our students, our kids, our parents. It's part of getting back this country. And just to, a little bit more on that, the studies show that less than 1% of children are naturally born without outside influences with gender dysphoria. Less than 1%. It's like 0.00 something. And those kids clearly have to be cared for and taken care of. The problem is the people who might have grown up that way appear to think that all kids have that. And they're the ones overseeing this flat out brainwashing and indoctrination of 100% of our kids with this stuff. And that's why we're seeing more and more kids, not this 0.00%, starting having these gender confusion. And those are the very kids that need their parents to step in and protect them. So I'll do whatever I can to protect parents and children. On crime, it's pretty basic for me. I believe in crime and punishment. Our state and our senators here, and by the way, everything I'm saying, every one of those Democrats that I'm running against on the other side believe exactly the opposite. Schiff, Porter, and Lee want to keep the parents in the dark. Schiff, Porter, and Lee support the ongoing sexual and other indoctrination of our kids in the schools. Schiff, Porter, and Lee want to keep the borders open. On crime, I believe in crime and punishment. They might be criminals, but a lot of them are not stupid. And if they're told, listen, you see that Louis Vuitton over there, you see that Nordstrom's over there, you see that Nike store over there, you can take anything you want, nothing's going to happen to you. Well, guess what they're going to do? They're going to take anything they want. And this is what happens. They get picked up, they get let right back out, no cash bail, etc. I support every policy that law enforcement supports to let them know that crime no longer pays again. And they'll get the message, they'll realize it, and suddenly things will be changing that way. Schiff, Porter, and Lee believe exactly the opposite. They support this criminal's paradise that's been created. On the inflation that's crushing all Americans, from the folks I've talked to and what I read and hear, it all starts with the price of a gallon of gas and or a barrel of oil. And I am a big supporter of the fossil fuel industry. We Republicans, like everybody else, we want a clean environment. We want clean air. We want clean water. We also want to be able to sustain life in our country for as long as, for centuries to come, for our children and our children's children. And we all know that there is no way to power this great country of ours just on wind and solar. Impossible. No expert will ever tell you otherwise. And what we're witnessing right now are leaders of our country leading our nation in a domestic suicidalist nation. And one of the ways they're doing that is by destroying our fossil fuel industry. And every time they close a coal plant here, for example, communist China builds 4 or 5 more. And every time our enemies, drill for oil or, mine coal or everything else, they do it much dirtier than we do here in the United States. And a term I'm hearing less and less of is the term global warming. Now it's all about climate change, right? They don't seem to be using the word global that much anymore because global says what it is. We all live on one globe. And if we destroy ourselves here in the name of climate change, right? Destroy our country and give all the business to our enemies, communist China, Russia, the mullahs, etc., their pollution, which is going to be so much worse because of the way they do all that work than the way we do that work. Well, that's going to contribute to the globe and what happens. So I will fight to protect our fossil fuel industry. Every gallon of gas that goes down, every barrel of oil that goes down, that'll bring down the prices of everything else. And then one of the existential threats of our time is communist China. And I will side and align myself with, unfortunately, what looks to be a relatively few amount of U.S. senators. You take all the U.S. senators, Democrat and Republican, there's only a small few Republicans who understand and get what I'm about to say, and I will align myself with them. We have to declare communist China an enemy of America, the evil empire. It is the evil empire. They are all about one thing in communist China, is spreading their Marxist takeover throughout this planet. That's what they live for, their leaders there. That's what they've been about since Chairman Mao, and they have no problem killing hundreds of millions of people in the process. I won't go into it now, but I firmly believe that the COVID virus was intentionally dropped on this country. So just a little bit about me, and then I'll be happy to answer questions. So I run a really great law firm. We have 25 lawyers. We practice around the nation. We have incredible clients. I started this business with 4 other guys 13 years ago. We took a huge risk. We left a big fancy law firm here in Century City. We wanted to go out on our own. We wanted to start our own. We wanted to be in control of our destiny. And we built this great business. And, we managed to, I'm the managing partner. I run the business. And so I care about the lives of a lot of people that work for us. We have the lawyers, we have the support staff, we have their families. And, there's nobody in this race that has the background I have. It's not even close. You got one guy that the word on him is he can't even afford to pay for the gas in his car. You got the other one who seems to be a nice, I won't go into them too much, but there's nobody like me in this race who has the background I have, who has the sort of skills and abilities that I have, or will come out and say the things I say. Like, for example, Antifa is an American terrorist organization that has to be stopped. So I run a great law firm. I get this job as senator. The cut and pay I'll take will be monumental. I have a wonderful family. Many of you have met my wife before. She's wonderful. She is a Navy brat. She grew up on Navy bases. Between us, we have 4 kids. We have 3 dogs. We have a cat. Cat's my favorite, by the way. But the English bulldog is making her way up into the favorite department. But the cat's still my favorite. Much smarter than the dogs. And now, because my wife Emerald has turned the back here into a mini city farm practically, we have big turtles, we have ducks, we have chickens, and my stepson, Emerald's son, is in the Navy. He was on a big aircraft carrier at sea for 10 months. He was in Norfolk, Virginia. Now he's stationed in San Diego. We're very happy about that. My dad fought in combat as a Marine in North Korea in the Chosin Reservoir conflict. He came back with a Purple Heart. My sister's son, my nephew, Noah, is in the Army right now. He graduated West Point 3 years ago, and they've got him shuttling back and forth between Poland and Germany right now, while this Biden administration is figuring out how to start World War III. So, the bottom line is, I have a very blessed family. I do not need politics in my life. My wife and I, we don't need politics in our life. When you boil it all down, we do this because we love this country. That's what it's all about. We love this country, and we know that our country of America, which I firmly believe is the greatest country in human history, I firmly believe we are the shining city on a hill, and we're under attack. We're not only under attack from this communist China, and I'm not talking about the Chinese people because they hate their country too for the most of it, their government, and certainly not the Chinese Americans, so many of whom I know who have escaped that communism. But we not only have that threat of communist China, but I believe the real existential threat of our day is what's happening within our borders. These American Marxists, as Mark Levin calls them, and I call them that too, they have done the long march through the institutions, and they control this country right now, and they're not stopping. They control the permanent government, the deep state. They control the Oval Office. They control the FBI, not the great rank and file, but the leaders. They control the Department of Justice. They control the IRS. They control the CIA. They control the NSA. They control the voting apparatus in the nation. They control the schools. They control the media, the brainwashing apparatus, as I call it. They're everywhere. And they are hell-bent on turning this country into what they believe is a Marxist utopia. And you bring the people who lived in the Iron Curtain countries, or even more recently, who escaped from socialist and communist nations here. They won't, these geniuses on the other side, they won't listen to where they're taking to this country to and what will happen if they succeed, because they think they know so much better. Their brains are shot. And that is the existential threat of our day, frankly, with all of these other major issues we've got to deal with. And, you know, I will do my best, because I do believe Donald Trump will get reelected. And I support Donald Trump, and I have for a number of years. And he will need soldiers within that Senate to do whatever it takes to get back this country for people who love this country, away from people who hate and want to destroy this country. And I will be there helping them along the way. So there you have it. My name is Eric Early. I'm running for US Senate. There is no candidate like me in this race. It's not even close. And you just heard why the media is doing its best to put a lid on me, because they know I'm a threat. They hate what I have to say, because they've, for the most part, been infiltrated by that Antifa ideology, which hates this country. And but I am, at the end of the day, a fighter, and I will keep fighting for this country and for all of our kids and all of our kids' kids. So with that said, you go to ericearly.com. You can sign up to volunteer. You can donate, and we need your support. So with that said, I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Early. That was amazing. And I had some questions down, and I think you went through almost every single one of them, but there are a couple left here that I would like to ask you, and
Okay.
I'm kind of reworking them because you answered so beautifully. What do you think, what is your opinion, why you think Gavin Newsom swore into office Senator LaFonza Butler, a Maryland political consultant, instead of like Schiff or Porter, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why do you think he went out of state for something like that?
Well, I can't begin to get in the mind of that deranged governor of ours. I don't like him. I haven't liked him for a long time. He is absolutely, in my opinion, I've been saying this for months, I believe he's going to be running for president before too long, within this election cycle. I think he, behind closed doors, every time something happens to Biden, he's behind closed doors cheering that on. At the end of the day, Gavin Newsom is an American Marxist ideologue, and he's also a political robot of the highest magnitude. The man does not care about the people. He does not care about we the people. I do this because I care about we the people. He is just the polar opposite. He doesn't care about people. He cares about power and control. And he did the political calculus. First, he asked for the skin chart, the color chart, because that's what he does every time he appoints somebody. He has one of his assistants bring him the color chart. He chooses somebody by their skin color, of course. And then he saw that she checked all the boxes that he's trying to, kowtow to for his next run for election. And he ended up with her. And I think he also tried to stay out of, or act like he was staying out of the race by not giving a leg up to one of the Democrats who are in the race right now. And I think you put all that together and you end up with this person, and it probably helps him that nobody really knows what she stands for or where she's coming from. But frankly, it's an embarrassment, and it's another slap in the face to we the people, because if you care about this state, you don't bring in somebody from out of state who doesn't know what's really going on here. You don't bring in somebody who nobody knows what her political positions are on anything. You only do that if you're doing a political calculation and you don't give a damn about the people. So, those are some of the things I think. But frankly, even though this LaFonza Butler has not announced yet whether she's going to run in our primary or to try and get in the general election, or whether she's just going to be content with staying in there until the general election and not running. But I hope she gets in, because I want the votes on the other side to be as diffused as possible.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, that's kind of how I was thinking about that as well. It just diffuses the whole thing. I just want to ask one more question, and then I'm going to let Gretchen give a couple of questions. And what are the first things that you're going to advocate as a senator? What are you going to go, and what are your 3 big case items?
Well, I'd like to see a federal bill that designates the murder of a law enforcement officer as a hate crime punishable by death around the nation. I'd like to see a bill like that, and I will do what I can to help something like that get going. I will align myself with the senators who see the way I see with respect to parents and children, and I will do whatever I can to work with them to get that Department of Education closed, and to come up with some kind of bill, hopefully, to put parents back in control of what's going on in the children, and to hopefully, and this won't be easy, root out the ongoing indoctrination that's happening with our children in school. Indoctrination, from political indoctrination to sexual indoctrination. It's a huge thing for me. And I also want to begin pushing to do everything possible to help our citizens pay their bills again. And that means one thing I would do is I want our nation to be energy independent again, for all the reasons that I said before, and really for more reasons, to secure our nation and protect our nation. And something else I want to do is I will want to align myself with everybody in the Senate who wants to see an end to the Ukraine war before that turns into World War III. So those are some of the first things I would do out of the box. I would also like to be on the Judiciary Committee that chooses the judges and recommends the judges that work in the federal system. One thing I know as an attorney for 30 years is the first thing we do in a new case is we get the bio of the judge. Judges are very powerful, as you know. We want to know who appointed them. We want to know what their political persuasion is. We want to see how they've ruled on certain kinds of cases. And so I want to do everything I can to fight for conservative judges all throughout the federal court system, from the trial court level to the Court of Appeals up to the US Senate. And then I guess I should say finally, and as I said, I want President Trump to be president. I want to help him do whatever it takes to get these American Marxists out of our government.
Thank you. Gretchen?
Hey, thank you, Mr. Early. I have a couple of questions. One is, at what point, once you become our US Senator, at what point would you be willing to reach across the aisle to have to work with people on the other side? Where do you see that being viable?
Well, that's a good question. Where do I see that being viable? Listen, this is the way I approach politics these days. I used to be one of these, before the Democrat Party became really the Socialist American Marxist Party, which is what it's become. This has nothing, I'm not talking about people who are registered as Democrat voters. I want registered Democrats to vote for me. I want independents to vote for me. I'm reaching out to all what I say forgotten Americans. But the elected Democrats now have, with very limited exception, have gone off the deep end. They're socialists. Many of them are Marxists. And what we've seen from, this is not your Democrat Party of even 5 or 6 years ago. And so if it was 5, 6, 10 years ago, I would answer that question by saying I want to reach out across the aisle. I want to try and work, negotiate and compromise, and come up with bills that are best for the American people. But here's the problem with that. And that's why I don't approach things this way anymore. These people on the other side that are controlled by the far left in the Senate, in the Congress, House of Representatives, they don't back down. They don't negotiate. They don't compromise. With them, it's my way or the highway. And the only ones doing all the compromising to get anything done are the Republicans. All right. And so, and if the Republicans don't bend to the will of the other side, then the other side's media organ, the brainwash artists, the vast majority of the mainstream media blames everything on the Republicans. But we can no longer compromise to people who won't compromise. We can no longer negotiate with people who will not negotiate. And so, you know, my position now is we have to be tough, we have to be strong, we have to stand for our principles, and we're doing that because we are firmly doing what's best for the American people. But the other side is not. They are taking this country deeper and deeper and deeper into a very bad place. So, you know, my position is that we have to be tough. And we have to be tough with these people on the other side. And we cannot be the ones always doing the compromising. Now, if they want to change and they want to actually show real compromise and real negotiations where maybe the two sides could come to the middle on something, then I would keep an open mind to that. But I don't see that happening in this government right now.
Okay, I have another question for you. And this is something that's bothered me for forever. You're an attorney. That's not what's bothering me. But
Bothers a lot of people. My dad hated lawyers, okay? I get it. I get it. I was nervous telling him I was going to be a lawyer.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing. We have a lot of lawyers that are in elected seats.
Yeah.
And yet only the left seems to be able to make the laws work for their twisted goals. Why is that? And as a lawyer with many years of experience behind you, what can you do as an elected official? And even if you weren't an elected official, why can't we get the laws to work for us in ways that make sense, like protecting parental rights?
Well, I'm glad you asked that.
Protecting children and all, you know, all the different nutty stuff that's going on. Why is it only the left can make the law work for them?
Well, that's a good question. It's not only the left that can make the law work for them, but you know, again, I'm not going to be one of these people that compromise with the other side. So as far as I'm concerned, I will try and block every law that they try and put into law that is against everything that I stand for. And for example, that's what's going on in the state of California. Everything comes out of this, what I call the Politburo, our state legislature, the control of our kids, the control of our parents, the laws that support violent criminals and not the rest of us, etc. But you know, just from a legal standpoint, listen, I have fought lawsuits for the people. In fact, I mean, I could tell you about one that we just got a interesting ruling on this morning. But for example, I've got a good friend of mine in San Diego named Paul Jonah. He's a great lawyer. And a lawsuit, a ruling came down 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago for parents and children that for some strange reason, our friends in the media didn't want to let the people know about. He got a ruling out of out of the federal court in San Diego, a major courtroom from a major judge, major federal court judge, one of the best conservative judges in this nation. His name is Roger Benitez. Roger Benitez is a Cuban-American immigrant. Every time there's a great Second Amendment ruling that comes out of federal court in this state, it's Roger Benitez. Many conservatives refer to him as Saint Benitez. Every time he comes out with a ruling, the empty suit up there in Sacramento throws a tantrum. I'm talking about Newsom. And 3 weeks ago, unbeknownst to so many Americans, he came out with a ruling in a case that was brought by 2 teachers against the Escondido Unified School District. The teachers had been ordered by the higher-ups in their school to keep the parents in the dark if the young children were coming to the teachers and talking to them about wanting to change their gender, their pronouns, etc. And the teachers got this great lawyer, and they sued for violation of their religious rights, because this was against their religious beliefs not to tell the parents, and against their First Amendment rights. And Judge Benitez issued a major ruling. This is a federal court, not some podunk state court out there somewhere. And he came down and he went through the whole history of parents' rights and parents' rights to control what goes on with their kids. And he came out with a major ruling saying the school has no right whatsoever to keep the parents in the dark. The parents have every right to control what their kids say, and the teachers must tell the parents what's going on. And remarkably, most of America, especially right now, where this is like one of the hottest issues in our nation, does not know about that ruling. And that is because the mainstream media doesn't want you to know about that ruling. I guarantee you that Newsom and his lapdog Bonta, the Attorney General, freaked out when they saw that ruling. And I know the way lawyers work, and they are going through this internal thought process right now. Do we appeal the ruling? Do we not appeal the ruling? Because the one thing the far left will do whatever they can to stay away from is to create binding law that can be used in other lawsuits in the future. Trial court rulings, which that one was, sometimes are legal precedent, sometimes aren't. But when you go to the Court of Appeal level, if the Court of Appeal upholds Benitez's ruling, which it very well, I believe, would if it went to Court of Appeal, that's the one that ends up in all the books, the legal books, and gets cited in case after case. So my point is, there are good lawsuits happening. There are good rulings happening. We should see more of that. It'd be great to see more of that. Lawsuits incredibly costly, especially when you're going against the state that throws everything at it. Takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of anything else. But we have to just keep fighting on all fronts, and that's one of them.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to kind of put these 2 questions together because they have a lot to do with each other. And that's one, what are your ideas on solving the homeless crisis and the fentanyl crisis?
Well, fentanyl, first you close the border. Second, I believe in capital punishment for fentanyl traffickers. And when they're picked up, they should be prosecuted. They should be convicted, and they should be subject to the death penalty. And forget 3 strikes, forget any strikes. You get prosecuted for trafficking fentanyl, you face the death penalty. Again, they might be heinous criminals of the worst kind, but they don't want to be subject to the kind of punishment that I believe should be brought down on them. But separately with fentanyl, I think we have to protect our population. I believe it's called Narcan or Narcal. We have to make that available, more available, while these kids are unfortunately, they're not trying to kill themselves when they're doing this. And a lot of them aren't ODing. They don't know when they take a Xanax and they think they're doing something that kids will do, that it's laced with something that could kill them. And then what was the other question?
Homeless.
Okay, as far as the homeless, I've had a plan for years now, which is very different than anything I've heard from anybody else. The people on the left, their plan is always, build more housing, right? Build more low-income housing. Well, I've walked through a number of homeless encampments. I'm down here in Los Angeles. They're all over the place. Don't have to be a psychiatrist to know that at least 70% of these people are severely severely mentally ill. And you could give those people the keys to their free condo for life and come back in 2 weeks and you'll be in a complete disaster area. Unfortunately, they cannot take care of themselves. Many of them have huge drug problems as well. I separate out the maybe, I don't know the exact percentages, 15%, 20% most, that just simply can't afford housing, don't have these problems. Those are ones we could focus on low-income housing for. But for the rest, and this is something that if I was, handling this, I would want to have studies. I wouldn't want to have groups. I want to have people from around the world talking about how they deal with it. But for starters, I'd like to see, our state of California has hundreds of thousands of acres, if not more, of beautiful federal lands and state lands. And we could build military-style tent encampments with all the utilities, total protections, have security, and food, etc. And for those with the severe mental illness, we bring them to certain major tent encampments that have the medical and mental health care they need. We have the security they need, and same for the drug addicted. We have drug treatment for them, and we put them in military style tent encampments. We get them out of the cities. We get them out of our suburbs. There's ways legally to do it. Yes, it will be tough legal fights because there's a whole industry of lunatics who believe that, it's more compassionate to let people live and die in the streets than what I'm suggesting. And while we're doing this, I firmly believe our nation has to do whatever it takes to start seriously rebuilding our mental health care system up from the ground up, because our mental health care system, for the most part, was decimated starting in the 1960s and never rebuilt. It's a huge undertaking, but unfortunately, this nation has severely mentally ill people all over the place. There's families, so many families have experienced this, have an individual like that. There's no control for it. There's nothing you can do for it. So many people end up homeless on the streets. So those are some of my sort of general preliminary thoughts on how to deal with it. And this would cost far less than the billions that Gavin Newsom and his followers have wasted over the years in trying to deal with the homeless problem.
Thank you. Yes, I'll send it back to you, Gretchen. I just want to remind everybody that we need to donate. And I did post, if you take a picture of the website, it's up a ways, but I took that in there so that you can go on. And if you want Mr. Early to speak at your meeting, you can fill out that contact us, where somebody will reach you within 5 days, and
Hopefully.
do it that way. Well, sometimes it works, but she said 5 days. That's what I'm going on. So, Gretchen, do you have anything at the?
I do. Yeah, there's a
final?
couple questions that have come up. The first one I wanted to ask is, can any laws be introduced that would prevent terrorists from being able to use social media to broadcast the heinous acts that they plan to do and want to broadcast around the world? As a US Senator, is there anything you can do to stop that?
To get a law passed in this day and age, in most day and age, you have to get both houses of both sides of the Senate to reach a majority, right? And both sides of Congress to reach a majority. Those are very difficult things in and of itself. I think that law is a great idea. I don't want to talk about internationally, because stopping doing things internationally, that involves laws that wouldn't, or ways to deal with things that I don't think American law could even sort of have jurisdiction over. But
right.
But if we tried to bring something like that here, I could, just playing devil's advocate, these lunatics will come up on the other side. They'll say this violates their freedom of speech rights and all this other stuff, and it'll be a battle. But it's certainly something that you can try to do to try to fight for. Whether it could be successful or not depends on really the makeup of our government. at that time.
Okay. Who are some of the key endorsements that you've secured so far? Can you tell us?
We have Mike Antonovich down here, who is sort of the one of the leading lights of Los Angeles County politics. I don't know where you guys are all at, but Mike was the he's a former state assemblyman, former state senator. He was the ran our LA County Board of Supervisors for many years. He's retired now. He's a staunch conservative, and he's an amazing human being. Mike Morrell, former state senator, one of the great conservative senators we've ever had in this state, has endorsed me. I have gotten endorsements from various mayors out there. I have gotten endorsements from a number of state Republican Party central committees. Nevada County, Yuba County, Yolo County, Sutter County. I'm forgetting some, but we keep
Santa
releasing
Barbara.
them. Santa Barbara County. Sorry, Santa Barbara County. I love the folks in Santa Barbara. And there have been others, and there are more and more coming. I've been endorsed by the National College Republicans. And so that's who I've been endorsed by. I would like to be endorsed by by more of the state electeds that we have right now. But unfortunately, what you find is so many of them are really led around on a leash by the state Republican Party. And they don't seem to want to ever cross paths with the people who run our state party and the person in Washington who controls largely our state party. And those folks that control our state party, etc., as I alluded to at the beginning of this, they're not fans of mine because I say things that they just don't want said. Okay, I say it like it is. I support Donald Trump for real. I'm not making it up. And I'm not, I don't say things that the crowd that wants us to act like Democrats with an R next to our name want you to say. So, that's what I'm dealing with. But thankfully the central committees around the state are just coming, more and more. It's great. When I speak to them, I get standing ovations around the state, and it's a beautiful thing. I'm speaking in Butte, as I said, on Thursday. I'll be in Shasta County, which I'm a big fan of what's going on in Shasta County. I'll be up there next week. And to the extent any of you with central committees that I failed to mention, I'm sorry for that. But the great central committees, these are the grassroots. And I am endorsed by the grassroots of this party. I'm endorsed by Rebuild California, which to me, as I said, there's things happening in this state that the media either knows about and doesn't want to report on because they want to make believe it doesn't exist, or they are simply clueless about because they generally spend their time behind keyboards and don't get out and see the people. And I've been campaigning around the state for years now with the attorney general race and with this race. Before that it was Schiff, and that was more local. And I've spoken to thousands and thousands of people, and there is an uprising going on in this state. There is a reawakening going on in this state. And I know a lot of you see it. And it is a conservative reawakening that is happening in this state. And the conservatives, the grassroots, the vast majority of them support me. I'm a part of this movement. I've been luckily one of the leaders of this movement. And it is a real movement. And like I said, it started with the Newsom recall. Yes, Newsom got reelected. But what that recall did and told the world, to those who are intentionally ignoring it, was that over 2 million Californians, a third of which were not even Republicans, signed that political petition. More people to sign a political petition than any political petition in the history of the world other than Brexit. And, thanks to $70 to $90 million in donations from far left wealthy people, Newsom managed to get himself reelected by blanketing the state with lying television commercials. A month before those television commercials started, you may recall he was neck and neck with Larry Elder. So Newsom got elected not because of any big thrill or like for Gavin Newsom. He got elected thanks to 79 million people. Like I tell people, if I had 70 million, my English bulldog Lucy, I could make governor of the state of California. And and those people, that movement didn't just vanish after that election. That was the beginning, and it's been growing and gathering ever since. And our media, like I said, they either don't want to know it exists or they simply don't have a clue. And so many, even in our own state party, and so many others don't understand what is going on out there. And I do firmly believe that we will ultimately get back this state. And as California goes, so goes the nation. And it's going to spread like a prairie fire across this nation. And I'm just proud to be part of that movement. So when you talk about endorsements, to me, that's the biggest endorsement of that movement. And, you know, Netter and Orrin Heatley, I don't know if you know Mike Netter. He's all over the place. He and Orrin started that movement, and we are very close, and they're very big supporters of mine, and they're on my campaign team. And so, you know, that's why, for example, when the baseball player claims he got in today, it was like, okay, what else is new? I got a movement behind me. He's got a few of the leaders of a state party that's on the verge of collapsing behind him. So, you know, there you go.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Before I move it back to our president, Janet, to thank you and wrap up, I just want to remind everyone that on October 24th, we have as our speaker, David Hernandez. He is the Los Angeles Hispanic Republican Club chairman and the newly elected Los Angeles Region Vice Chair. So I'd like to see everybody back again on the 24th. And now I'm going to turn all of this back over to our president. And thank you so much, Mr. Earl.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, and go Golden State women. We'll talk to all of you again soon. I look forward to seeing all of you out there. And, you know, I run into all of you out there along the way. So thanks again for having me, and I will sign off.